Ok, goeiemiddag, goeiemôre of goeienaand, hang af hoe laat jy hierdie video kyk en baie welkom by die laaste van 3 video's waarin ons die boek Asem deur Jan Vermeulen bietjie meer in diepte beskou. Ons het gekyk aan die begin na die algemene sirkelvormige lewenspatroon wat 'n tema vorm met die hele asem in en asem uit idee. Dit is iets wat jy kan gebruik in jou eksamen in vraestel 2. Die simboliek van asemhaal, lewe begin, asem in is jou eerste asem in wat jy ooit doen as jy gebore word, haal jy asem in en as jy doodgaan dan haal jy asem uit. En dit is ook die metafoor of die simboliek waarop wat jy kan gebruik in jou eksamen van hoe Barries Barnard 'n troubled teenager, 'n rebel in sy tienerjare as gevolg van sy agtergrond, hoe dit hom geshape het, hoe dit hom gevorm het en hoe hy 'n nuwe lewe begin nadat hy deur diep waters letterlik en figuurlik moes beweeg. En weer eens die tagline daar of die bykomende skrif daar, 'n reis om vry te word en weer te leer asemhaal. Brilliant book, brilliant writer as usual. Lovely story to get to know a lot of identifiable scenarios for teenagers, for adults, and even for older people. People that's older than adults, not the elderly maybe. Anyway, so we are going to continue looking at relationships, verhoudings. Very important to look at these relationships between the characters. We'll do a little speelietjie. Ons sal 'n speelietjie speel. We'll play a little game. We'll go through the characteristics or the relationship of the characters, and then you can guess who we're talking about. First of all, we've got a little stick man there within a little stick man, a darker versus a light shade. In other words, your shadow side. Ons almal het 'n skadukant aan ons in ons binneste, and we all have that dark side, not secrets necessarily, but the inner conflict, die innerlike conflict, very important 2 words that you can use, inner conflict wat hier plaasvind. Ons kyk na die eerste paar woorde. These are also woorde that you can learn to use in sentences in your answers. Homself, this person die persoon het baie innerlike konflik in homself, met homself. Hy het 'n selfbeeldprobleem of maybe a fake self-image of himself. He maybe doesn't really know who he is. Sy spieelbeeld, you can use the word spieelbeeld, mirror image. As jy vir jouself in die spieël kyk, wie sien jy? Do you see a masked person or do you see yourself? Hoe hierdie persoon dink en voel oor homself. Now we know from the storyline that characters develop due to the fact that stuff happened to them in their past maybe, and how they think and feel about themselves influence hulle gedrag. Dit beïnvloed hulle gedrag. Die glo in jouself of die geloof in jouself kom ter sprake in hierdie verhaal, in hierdie karakter verhouding tussen hierdie karakters. So, al hierdie karakters het te doen met Barries. So Barries het verhouding met hierdie karakter, met die volgende karakter ensovoort. So hierdie eerste een waarna ons kyk, Barries het 'n verhouding met hierdie persoon. Barries, die karakterverhouding of die verhouding tussen hierdie persoon en Barries is onvolwasse. Dis negatief. Soos wat die verhaal develop, soos wat die verhaal ontwikkel, word Barries meer bewus as gevolg van hierdie verhouding met hierdie persoon. Hy groei, hy word groot, You can change that I to a D. Hy word groot, hy grow up, due to this relationship of this person that we're talking about. Self-bevryding, because of this relationship with this person Barries has, it helps him to free himself, self-freeing, vrede, peace. He experiences peace eventually. Development of a character, hy ontwikkel as karakter, we can see throughout the story. Hy het geleer en hy het miskien meer begrip en beter verstaan van wat aangaan. And we are talking none other but himself, Barries himself, that he's having a relationship with here. The shadow puppet, or the shadow inside the clear image of the stokmannetjie there, can represent the dark side, the bad, the thoughts about himself that has come up, that relationship that we have with ourselves consistently, the mirror image, the inner conflict, the voices in our head. That's what he experiences with himself as a character in the book as well. When we move on to the next person here, and we see this is a female figure with a little baby, we already know probably who we're talking about here. You can put two and two together. Kom ons kyk na woordeskat. Dis gekompliseerd hierdie verhouding wat Barries het met hierdie persoon. Hy het verwyte, he's got regrets, he's got anger, woede. We'll probably get to that word later. Hy het vrae sonder antwoorde. He's got this Barries has got questions for this person, but there's no answers. This person should be his protector, sy beskermer, sy versorger, his caretaker. Hy voel teleurgesteld. Miskien is dit 'n wederwysige gevoel. Maybe it is a mutual feeling, a wederwysige gevoel. Go look that word up if you didn't know it, use it in your exam. Die wederwysige gevoel of disappointment can come up here. Hy word dalk bietjie ek dink in hierdie geval is hy die boelie teenoor hierdie karakter. If you haven't guessed it yet, we'll see now. Verbale bullying, I don't think he physically bullies this person, but very much verbal. But also we can bring this in with mishandeling. Remember, this character that you will realize shortly is the person that were probably also being mishandled by another character in the household. It's supposed to be his role model and safety net, or veiligheid. Hy moet veilig by die persoon voel. And we know none other that is the person that we're talking about is sy ma. And throughout the story we realize he's not very respectful towards his mother. Hy's ongeskik met haar. Maar aan die einde dan is hulle weer saam in 'n veilige omgewing. So die verhouding tussen Barries en sy ma is gecompliseerd. There's resentment, there's regret, there's disappointment, al daai dinge, until the end where we see, even though there was consequences, they ended up again together in a safe environment. Die volgende persoon, I'll give it away quickly, is Paul, or who he thought was his dad. So again, we've got this inner conflict, outer conflict, innerlike konflik, uiterlike konflik situasies hierso. Hy word groot in 'n huis waar daar woede en haat en verwyte en gevoelens is, and there was a murder that took place obviously out of anger. Paul killed his real father after he found out that he raped his mother. It's supposed to be his role model, but then he feels the rejection, verwerping, die rejection van sy pa, being his dad leaving him at a young age. Hy voel alleen, hy voel eensaam, hy het vrae, he's got questions. And again, we see the innerlike conflict happening here. Barry's finding fault with himself, trying to understand why would his dad just leave. He then goes over into the blaming game. 'n oog vir 'n oog, 'n eye for an eye, conflict, verslawing. He tries to escape om te ontsnap. He tries to escape, ontsnap van die werklikheid, van die realiteit, en hy raak verslaaf aan dagga en allerhande ander substances. die gevoel, I'm gonna go up to the side there, die gevoel van hurt, seer maak en seer kry, is evident in hierdie verhouding tussen Barries en sy pa, of die pa wat hom groot gemaak het, Powell. Hy word ook fisies mishandel. And that obviously plays a role in all these negative conflict emotions that we get. And then at the end, we also see the theme of forgiveness coming through. As a whole, in this slide, besides the vocab that you can learn to help you build sentences in preparation for your exam, dink aan die verhouding in sy familie as 'n groep. Jy's 'n klein seentjie of dogtertjie, jy rely op jou ouers, you rely on your parents to give you a safe environment, to protect you, to love you. He didn't get that necessarily due to past things that happened, or things that happened, and how he was actually conceived was an act of violence and complete and utter horribleness. And you can imagine the resentment and the hatred and the anger and the sadness and all daai emosies. Write them all down, memorize them all, argue about it, talk to yourself about it, how his mother would have was feeling, and didn't tell Powell that Barries isn't her son, but because he felt something was wrong. Your sesde sintuig is altyd reg. Powell felt something was not on. He started drinking, because obviously his relationship with Barries' mother was turning sour due to the dishonesty, die oneerlikheid tussen Barries se pa en Barries se ma. Not because she's a bad person, maar she was in a very difficult moral decision situation. And we are not here to judge, we are here to understand, and om te verstaan, en om te processeer, and to see how the character grows throughout the play, and what choices, or throughout the story rather, and what choices do we have, watter keuses het ons in die lewe, so that we don't make the same mistakes as from the past. Furthermore, we've got Lizette and Barries' verhouding. Lizette and Barries is seksueel actief. They are in love, however much in love they can be at that age. They are probably a lot. Muisneste is a Afrikaans saying if you can't think properly because you're dreamy, because you're in love. You can use that in your essay. It will be a brilliant attribute for you to use in your essay. Barries is baie forcerend, but Lizette is very much like, okay, just, don't go so fast. Daar's jaloesie betrokke, because we see that in the bar at that night when his birthday happened. He would somehow get into a fight because of people flirting with Lizette, and Lizette plain ongesond. We can see that Barries is all his current relationships in the beginning of the story, in the now, was ongesond, unhealthy. We move on and we see that he also has a run-in with the law and order, wet en orde, die gereg. If you have a run-in with that, meaning you rebel against that as well. Hy rebelleer, hy's rebels, hy's ongehoorsaam, hy volg nie reëls nie, hy doen net wat hy wil, hy's onvergenoegd. Unvergenoegd is a lovely description of his character at this point, in the beginning point of the storyline. Hy's onvergenoegd. He is spoiled. He's a spoiled little brat. And he also carries himself like that. Hy's jaloers, hy's kwaad, he's challenging, uitdagend. Hy dink hy kan nie doodgaan nie. Hy dink hy's onsterflik. Hy dink hy kan soveel drugs doen, en as hy vrek, so wat, hy dink nie as hy gaan doodgaan nie. Hy waag kanse. He balances life up now, want nou weet hy nie wie hy is nie. Hy het al die vrae, and he thinks he's above others. Hy's verhewe bo ander, and he obviously is self-detrimental. He's very detrimental to himself. Sy gedrag is afbrekend, sy gedagtes is afbrekend, hy het moordgedagtes, he's got murder thoughts. Hy's baie destructive is the more of a easier word maybe to remember. Dan kyk ons na Constable Mfeka, and I put these little names coming in from the corner, because I want you to think of Barries is being put in corners here. So wanneer dit moeilik gaan met jou, you are being put in a corner. People are attacking you, or you are attacking people and they are reciprocating. You are being rebellious, life is going to be rebellious towards you. So hy is in hierdie hoeke vasgedruk. You can use that analogy in your essay. Barries voel of gedurende die verhaal kom ons agter, Barries word in hoeke ingedruk deur situasies where he feels trapped, so he reacts instead of responds. Constable Mfeka, even though a symbol of the law and a person, manifested into a person, he is someone who does not take nonsense from him, and he says, you will go to jail, my boy. That is how it is, brah. So, Constable Mfeka se verhouding met Barries is baie sterk. Hy streng met Barries. He actually takes in and puts the boundaries down, and he says, you will now get better, basically. Nee, hy's vasbeslote. An example of a lovely example of a past participle there. Hy's vasbeslote. Geregtigheid is the law. So Mfeka is also a symbol of the law. And he then eventually gets Barries, not through his dialogue, but through scenarios and situations that happened, gets Barries to understand, to comprehend. He becomes almost a father figure, a father figuur for Barries. Barries realizes that he admits that he's made mistakes. Hy herken homself 'n bietjie beter. He admits that he made mistakes and starts to recognize, herken himself. And Mfeka becomes a role model for him. He offers help and he's strict. Hy's kwaai. Hy sê, the bus stops here. And then we've got Nicoline Schroeder, who's also one of the police officers investigating, but she comes in more as a soft landing. She offers him a little bit of a motherly role. So we've got Constable Mfeka as the father, taking in the father role, being the strict one, saying, this is where we stop it now. And Nicoline Schroeder, who's being the mother. But he obviously, Barries also falls in love with her a little bit, as one does when you are young and in a different mindset. Nicoline Schroeder offers him die ondersteuning wat hy verdien deurlopend. So she, throughout the story, I keep on saying play because it plays like a play off in my head, I can visualize it. Throughout the story, Nicoline Schroeder is a support structure, 'n ondersteuningsraamwerk. Sy's 'n rolmodel, sy help hom en sy's 'n moederfiguur. So we can see from the first, if you look at relationships only now, his mother and father, due to situations, couldn't offer him anymore that structure. Something bad had to happen for him as a young man to realize his mistakes, and also that there's places and people that can help him, and these people are sent on his path to help him. Wonderful relationships being developed there. Other relationships, ander verhoudings in die verhaal, and I drew a line there at the bottom, and I'll explain to you now what it is. The first one there, we've got this, I symbolize him as this little man, this angry man. Hy's uitdagend in Barries' life. He weerspieël, he almost reflects a little bit of something in Barries, I think. He's very warning. Hy waarsku die hele tyd. He warns Barries of everything and anything. Hy slaan vroue. Ons leer dat hierdie karakter vrouens slaan, en hy's eintlik 'n gebroke mens. He's actually a broken person due to past things that happened to him as well. And you guessed it right, dit is Stef. Stef en Barries se verhouding weerspieël hierdie uitdagendheid, hierdie waarskuwing. It is almost as if he's a red light in Barries' life. Even though he does wrong things, it is not always the people's mistakes that we must look at. It's sometimes the people that does something, that they react somehow, that is a message for us as a person. I still believe that we are just characters probably in the world somewhere where people are going, let him do this play. Anyway, the next one, she represents for me this little mermaid kind of idea, this dreamlike thing, because she was always on the rocks by the ocean, tanning half naked. So she's got that liberaliteit wat I think Barries kind of found quite attractive and appealing. Sy's onstabiel. She teaches the lesson to Barries about Welles versus liefde, lust versus love. She creates she lures him out. Sy lok hom uit. She verlei. At the bottom we mention the word verlei and misleiding. She lures him into the thinking, and also him having physical reactions towards her. His heart starts racing, he starts sweating, all sorts of things. They do build a sort of friendship, but it's a little bit platonic, and I think it's one-sided. She does then offer him some form of support, and through the process perhaps helps Barries to realize what he needs to do next. Hulle leer mekaar ken. Hy maak van haar 'n clay statue, 'n clay beeld, and he learns the lessons in this relationship between vertroue versus wantroue, trust versus distrust. Very important character in the play, and her name was Olga. Connected with Steph, obviously Steph's one girlfriend. Later on at the end we learned that he got a new girlfriend because Olga left the building. Goed, die volgende karakter you'll be able to guess by only looking at the icon. And the double layer there that I put there is because he meets this character, and we can soon much speak about him because we know who he is Yuana. He meets Yuana in a moment of distress. And as you can see, the line that I drew at the bottom here, it kind of arrives, Barries arrives by Seeplaas, at Seeplaas, already on a lower point in his life because he just made all these mistakes. And then he falls even further by the help of Olga. And when he hits rock bottom, only then he moves up by the help of other characters. So let's have a look at Yuana's verhouding met Barries en Barries se verhouding met Yuana's. Hy ontmoet vir Jonas die eerste keer toe Joana besig was om te verdrink. En hy spring in om die hond te help en hy kry die hond gered, maar Barries word ingesuig in die see in. And he goes through this first moment in his life where he actually go through a reality check where he realizes he's now dying. He's going to die. No one's coming to help him. He's dying. Very symbolic, baie symbolies in his story. And because of that, he obviously survives the ocean pulling him down. Because of that, he's got this wederzijdse, and there's that word coming up again. Use it in your essays. Hy het die wederzijdse respect tussen Yuana en Barries. Barries help Yuana om gezond te word, en Yuana help Barries om gezond te word in return. There's a sense of gratitude, dankbaarheid. Lovely word, lovely theme, dankbaarheid, gratitude. Heelend, because we find out later that Yuana belongs to a girl called Eunice who's partially blind, and hy is eintlik 'n gidsond, a guide dog. So how healing is that he's a guide dog, that Barries thought he was guiding Yuana, meanwhile Yuana was guiding Barries as well. Hulle groei saam, hulle word sterk saam, hulle moet moeilike besluite neem, hulle moet verantwoordelikheid vat. Obviously a dog doesn't really do that, but in this relationship in your mind with them, you can think of it like that. Barries leer hier ware omgee. Wat is ware omgee? Dit is die belangrike een hier. Barries vir die eerste keer kry Barries meer emosies, hy voel meer emosioneel, hy kan weer huil, hy kan weer gevoel hê, hy gee om vir iets, and it's as if that caring for that little thing, as we've learned before, was also helping him to heal. Erkenning en herkenning comes up here. Barries erken foute, hy herken homself 'n bietjie beter. Volgende op die lys het ons vir hierdie mannetjie. Ek het hom sommer so uitgebeeld, but it's just to kind of put a image in your head for you. Phyllis is volgende op ons lys. Phyllis, of Philly rather, I call him Phyllis, Philly Boysen, is 'n ware vriend. The relationship starts, die verhouding begin moeilik, maar hulle bou 'n verhouding, hulle bou in hulle vertroue. Hier leer Barries weer die verskil tussen wantroue en vertroue. En dit's ook baie belangrike verhouding hierso, want ons sien kultuur, integrasie, waar Barries is van 'n nuwe generasie wat die integrasie aanmoedig en die verstaan van klassisteme probeer beter meng en nie so wye effek hê soos ons vandag nog ervaar nie. Hy bied ook ondersteuning en ons sien aan die einde van die verhaal dat hulle al twee in die skool is, saam op skool in die koshuis, hulle is goeie vriende en dis eintlik 'n wonderlike ding dat hy 'n vriend in Philly kon ontwikkel, 'n vriendskap saam met hom kon ontwikkel. Dan het ons Dr. Hakkinen, dit is die veearts, sy dien ook as 'n rolmodel, sy help hom deur om vir Jonah te help. Sy's baie beginsel vas, she's very got her values and norms straight, she doesn't want, she's honest, she wants to help, but Barries is going to have to take responsibility, selling some of his stuff to pay for the costs, etc. And she saves Ewana, and in essence saves Red vir Barries as well. And then we get Barries en Eunice, where dis 'n tweede kans op liefde wat Barries hier ontvang, and almost a symbol of 'n verhouding van vrede, unity again, hope and love. And then we also have Sister Kapoor, which teaches Barries the level of forgiveness that one has to have, forgiveness of the self and also others en ander, en sy en dat almal verdien 'n tweede, derde, vierde, vyfde, sesde kans, if life hands that to you. Op die volgende bladsy sien ons die simboliek en temas of boodskappe wat ons kan koppel aan die spesifieke areas van of gebeurtenisse, of die oploop en die afloop en die klimaks van die situasie, van elke sekere verskillende situasies. Ons het die skaakbord daar, of die skaakspel, dit is symboliseer dat die lewe is 'n spel miskien, of daar's verskeidenheid van opsies wat 'n mens kan volg. Remember the scene when Barries and Powell played chess, and he was a little bit immature still then, still part of his character growth there. And they used the game of chess, or it could have been any game, but the game of chess is so symbolic because of the choices that one can make. And it's almost also as if he was involved in a game of chess in his previous life in Joburg, where he was stuck in that rut of the drugs and the self-destructiveness, etc. So a very good choice of symbolism here, where he and Paul had that game of chess, and he threw the board over, or the table over, out of anger and frustration, and a bad loser basically. We also have die ligtoring het vir my uitgestaan persoonlik. Die ligtoring vir my was 'n baken van hoop, maar ook 'n waarskuwingslig miskien. Hy en Olga wat na die toring toe geloop het, en natuurlik die baken van hoop, want 'n lig kan ook die lig in mense donker tonnel veroorsaak. Ons het ook die see natuurlik wat 'n algemene simbool is vir miskien heling. Dit kan 'n klomp goed beteken om heel te word weer, om die golwe wat in en uit, selfs met die asem, die in en uit aksie, 'n nuwe begin, 'n afsterwe van iets en weer 'n nuwe begin. Ook waarin hy geswem het. Water kan ook baie simbolies wees vir 'n nuwe begin, skoon begin, ensovoorts. Die walvis wat ook 'n belangrike rol gespeel het, as miskien 'n waarskuwing, maar ook as 'n Bybelse connection, waar Jona ingesluk is deur die vis, en hoe hy moes vertrou en glo om weer uit die vis se maag te kom, en dit is simbolies teenoor hierdie situasie waar Barries homself ingevind het. Die haas teddybeertjie, I couldn't find the teddy bear that looked like a bunny as an icon, but there's that should suffice for now. Die haas teddybeertjie of die teddybeer wat Barries aanvanklik ontdek het in Powell se kamer, and then after Jona the dog brought it to him that one morning. So it appeared twice, so it obviously plays a role of forgiveness, the small boy in Barries that had to heal, the trust building, the fact that Powell probably did care, en maar miskien ook some herinneringe, symbolic of memories that has come back, old scars, old wounds that might have been popping up. And then the guide dog, obviously, die gidsond, that was actually Barry's eyes, or kind of guided Barry's to healing as well, along with all the other symbolisms. Also, verhouding daar gebou, die simboliek van verhouding, die simboliek van 'n hond se beste vriend is 'n mens, of 'n hond is 'n mens se beste vriend. Vriendskap wat tussen hulle gevorm het, die simboliek van die een red die ander. Very nice that you can bring in there. All right, goed. And that brings us to the end of the story, analyzing Asem deur Jan Vermeulen, 'n reis om vry te word en weer te leer asemhaal. Ek dink julle moet al 3 video's kyk, notas maak, make sentences from findings, from wat jy verstaan, relationship between people, what you know about them, how it developed the characters, and continue with making your own notes from these videos. Very important. Baie sterkte, en ek hoop dit gaan sommer baie goed met julle in vraestel 2, Afrikaans, First Edition Language, IEB 2022. Totsiens.